evening to all the aspirants. My name is Sumeet and today, as usual, we'll take a session on current affairs. So since now we've completed first week of August, so now time has come to look into the events that have trespassed during the second week of August. So this class, there is a particular deviation which I would like to take over here. So this time we will try and focus on Prime Minister's speech, the Independence Day speech, the 79th Independence Day speech, and we will try to dissect all the important schemes which the Prime Minister has announced in his recently Independence Day speech, right? So this session will include your current affairs as well as the major focus over here will be the Prime Minister's speech, right? So let us deep dive into the subject. So let us talk about state first, right? The issue has been doing a lot of rounds in our state, and it concerns the Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary. The Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary. So in Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary recently, it was reported that 2 cubs were found dead, and their mother, the mother tigress, she was found absconding. She was nowhere to be found, and that is why Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary is in the news. So since it is in the news, let us try and understand some basic facts about Kaveri Wildlife Reserve. Now, you'll have to keep in your mind that the Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary has been declared a protected area, under the Wildlife Protection Act. Under the Wildlife Protection Act. In the year, it was declared as a protected area in the year 1987. It was declared as a protected area in the year 1987, and again in the year 2013. In the year 2013, it was expanded. It was expanded to more than 1,000 square kilometers. To be precise, 1,200 square kilometers. Now this was expanded in the year 2013. Now we will talk some basic facts about the Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary. Now this sanctuary lies in the districts of Mandya, Chamarajnagara and Ramnagara, or as we call it now, Bangalore South, right? So this wildlife sanctuary plays an important role. It is a corridor connecting the species of Eastern Ghats as well as the Western Ghats, right? So this Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary passes through some major important national parks. The first one, the Bannerghatta National Park, which is located near Bangalore. Bannerghatta National Park. Then it also adjoins the Hills. Hills, as we know, is a tiger reserve. Male Mahadeshwara Hills or Hills. In short, we call it as Hills. And again, it also connects the BR Hills or Biligiri Ranganatha Swami Hills. BR Hills. Now, these three hills are connected by this Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary. That you'll have to keep in your mind. Now, this Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary, the name itself comes from the river Kaveri because this wildlife sanctuary traverses through the path of Kaveri River. That you'll have to keep in your mind. It traverses through the path of Kaveri River. This is another point which you'll have to keep in your mind. Now, let us look at some important animals present in this reserve. The foremost animal that is of utmost importance for a study is the animal tiger. Tiger is a protected animal as per Wildlife Act. Then the other protected animal which is found amply in this wildlife sanctuary is elephants. And along with these two prime animals, there are other important animals like the sambar, then leopard, and then along with leopard, there are also other animals like sloth bear. Along with sloth bear, we also find another important animal whose name is deer. So all these are prime animals which are found in this Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary. Along with these animals, when it comes to flora, in the flora division, we find tamarind trees, Then along with these tamarind trees, we also have Arjuna tree. So these are some of the most important, or you may call flagship animals, flagship fauna and flora found in this Kaveri Wildlife Reserve. Now let us look at some facts about its climate. Now the climate of Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary is highly influenced by both the monsoons, the southwest monsoon as well as the northeast monsoons. That you'll have to keep in your mind. So this kind of weather actually promotes the growth of deciduous forest. Deciduous forests. Now, along with deciduous forest, there are some patches where evergreen forests are also found. Evergreen forest. When I use the word deciduous and evergreen forest, you'll have to keep in your mind that in deciduous forest, the trees shed the leaves once in a year. The trees shed the leaves once in a year, whereas in the evergreen forest, the trees, they do not shed leaves. They do not shed any leaves, and that is why they are called as evergreen forests, right? So this is the type of forest which can be found in Kaveri Wildlife Reserve. So these are the facts which you'll have to keep in your mind while understanding Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, this was recently in the news because recently 2 tiger cubs were found dead in this sanctuary and the mother tigress was absconding. That means she was not to be found. Now, these are the recurring occurrences which are happening in the state of Karnataka. Just a couple of months back, there was another incident where 4 tiger cubs along with the mother tigress was found dead in the area called as Hills. Now, this created a lot of furor in the state in Hills when the bodies or carcass of those tigers were found. It created a lot of furor in the state legislative assembly as well as the government. So the government then appointed a committee to look into the deaths of these tiger cubs, and that committee found that local people were involved in those killings. Along with local people, these local peoples, along with the poaching gang which was active in that area, the poaching gang which was active in that area were also blamed for this tiger deaths. Now the committee had recommended that in order to not repeat these instances again in those areas which are highly populated by tigers, the committee had recommended that there should be proper surveillance and monitoring by forest department. And it was also observed, the committee also observed that since there was a drop in surveillance and monitoring by forest department, that led to these poaching activities raising their ugly head again in that region. So that is why they have again told that forest guards, the recruitment of forest guards should be improved, and their conditions should also be improved so that they are motivated to undertake proper surveillance and monitoring in that region, so that such incidents do not rear their ugly head and cause a lot of furor in that region. So this is with respect to wildlife sanctuary, Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary, and this was what was happening on in that region. Now let us go to the next topic. As I told you in the start of my session that we will be majorly focusing on Prime Minister's speech and some of the important schemes which the Prime Minister had uttered in his speeches, in his 79th Independence Day speech. So in his speech, the most important outcome was regarding the GST. The Prime Minister has told that there is again a reformation will be implemented when it comes to GST, and it will be announced in the upcoming Diwali season. The Prime Minister has told that. I hope you guys are aware that the GST, there are 4 slabs in GST. The first one is 5%, and the other slab is 12%. And the third slab is 18%, and the fourth slab is 28%. So these are the slabs which are presently present in the GST. Now the Prime Minister has told in his speeches that all these slabs will be reduced. All these slabs will be now, the 4 slabs will be cut down to 2 more slabs, and there will be only 2 slabs, which is 5% and 12%, 5% and 18%. 5% and 18%. These are the 2 slabs which the government will now be implementing in its Diwali offer. So these are the 2 slabs which will be a part of GST, whereas the rest slabs, which are the 12 and 28%, these 2 slabs will be cancelled. And along with these 2 slabs, another slab will also be introduced, which will be at the rate of 40%. Now keep in your mind, the 5% tax slab involves essential commodities, and merit goods. When I use the word merit goods, please keep in your mind, these goods involve goods which are essential for the lower class people or the poor people, right? Merit goods and essential goods. When I use the word essential goods, these include commodities like food, everything. So these will be included in the 5% category. And the second category, this would be categorized as standard GST rate. Standard GST rate, and all other services, goods and services would be included in this 18% tax slab. And the other one, the final one, this 40% is a special GST, and in this GST, sin goods would be implemented. When I use the word sin goods, you'll have to understand that this relates to alcohol, tobacco, and online betting games, betting apps. All these categories of goods and services which are a part of sin category will be included in this 40% GST slab. So this is with respect to the GST announcement which had been made by the Prime Minister in his Independence Day speech. Now this proposal, as we know from the current newspapers, this proposal has already been sent to the GST Council and also the respective states. Now if the government gets an approval or a nod from all the states as well as the GST Council, this new GST reform law will be implemented in the country of India. Now what is the impact of this GST reformation? Let us look into that. Now it had been reported recently that in the news that the multi slabs which have been a part of this GST, they were actually the reason for rise in the prices of goods and services. The second drawback, which was amply buffered by all the newspapers, intellectuals and media people, is that this rise in prices made the consumption in the economy to fall. And due to this multi-layered taxes, this created a lot of hassles. For MSMEs, specifically for the MSMEs and other manufacturing units. It created a lot of hassles when it comes to compliance related issues. Now, looking at these three drawbacks, the government has now implemented a reform in GSTs. This is what is about the GST revamp, which has been spelled out by the Prime Minister in his Independence Day speech. I hope everything is clear regarding this issue. Now let us go to the next issue. The next issue is about the deep water exploration mission, which has been recently announced by the Prime Minister in his Independence Day speech. Now, according to this mission, what the government is trying to do is that it is trying to explore the seabed, specifically in the areas of Andaman Sea and along the Andhra coast. The seabed along the Andhra coast and Andaman Sea will be explored. Now, what will they explore over there? The major reserves relating to gas and oil. Will be explored in those regions. This is what has been spelled out in this national policy mission. Now, let us look at some other facts related to gas and oil. Now, why is India undertaking such a huge project? That question should come to your mind. And to answer that, please keep in your mind that India is highly dependent on foreign countries for its crude oil, needs and gas. Now with this mission, the government aims to reduce its imports of up to 88% when it comes to crude oil from the foreign markets, and 50% of gas needs from foreign markets. Now with the exploration and finding of these oil and gas reserves from our own country, then we will be able to reduce the dependence on foreign markets to procure these two important essential goods. Now with the reduction of this, don't you think we will be able to save a huge amount of billions of dollars? We will be able to save a lot of $1 billion in our foreign reserves. Now along with that, as we all know, the world is undergoing a huge change. There are a lot of problems which are going on in the world, and that has impacted the prices of crude oil. And in order to resolve that issue, in order to resolve the dependence of India on foreign markets for crude oil and gas, the government is now undertaking the National Sea Deep Water Exploration Mission. That you'll have to keep in your mind. This is with respect to the National Deep Water Exploration Program mission. Now this mission is implemented by the Ministry of Natural Gas and Petroleum. This is a nodal ministry for this implementation. That you'll have to keep in your mind. Now since you guys have understood about this issue, let us go to the next topic. Right, the next topic is about Operation Sudarshan. Right, the Prime Minister is again in his 79th Independence Day speech had spelled out a lot of details about Operation Sudarshan. Now let us look at this issue. Right, Operation Sudarshan, you'll have to keep in your mind that Operation Sudarshan is a multi-layered. It is a multi-layered defense shield. It is a multi-layered defense shield which will be implemented by the country of India. It is just like Iron Dome of Israel. Now, the most important fact about this Operation Sudarshan is that this mission will be implemented, developed and manufactured indigenously. When I use the word indigenously, you'll have to understand that no foreign components or missiles would be a part of this system. This will be wholly developed by Indians, the government, the private sector of India. The government sector of India will involve themselves and develop all the components related to this Operation Sudarshan in India itself. We won't be importing any missiles or components from the foreign. That is point number one. Now, what does this multi-layered shield defense actually do? What it does is that it will do a surveillance or monitor. Surveillance, and then it will intercept. Surveillance, intercept and counter attack any threat towards major places of importance in India. And which are those places? Those places are some strategic areas, then civilian areas, important civilian areas, and also some religious places. Now, when I use the word multi-layered, you'll have to understand that all the threats coming from land, air, sea, and cyber domain will be neutralized. Under this scheme, right? So any missile which is coming from land, air, sea, that will be monitored, intercepted and destroyed by this multi-layered defense system, which is Operation Sudarshan. Now, the government is planning to fully implement and execute this operation in the year 2035. And this project is a part of Ministry of Defense. Ministry of Defense. This you'll have to keep in your mind. I hope everything is clear about this project. So now let us go to the next topic. Right, the next topic is again about PM E-Drive. Right, this scheme was announced in the year 2024 on October 1st, 2024. This scheme was announced on October 1st, 2024. Now, what is present in this scheme? Let us look into that. This scheme focuses on some major areas. Which are those? Now, it is trying to promote the use of e-vehicles, especially two-wheelers and three-wheelers. Along with two and three-wheelers, it is also trying to push e-buses for public transport, e-buses and trucks for public transport. This is objective number 1. The second objective is about improving the charging infrastructure in our country. I hope you guys are aware that when it comes to electric vehicles, there is only one anxiety which is causing a lot of concern among its users, and that is related to the range. The range of electric vehicles has been reported to be very low when compared to internal combustion engines. Now, in order to address this anxiety among the users, the government is also looking to improve the charging infrastructure in India. Charging infrastructure specifically on highways and urban areas. On highways as well as urban areas. This is point number 2, objective number 2. Now let us look at objective number 3. The other objective is about improving the manufacturing, or supporting the manufacture of e-vehicles in India. Manufacture of e-vehicles in India. Right? So the government will look into it will provide some subsidies and investments as well as interest subvention to those MSME units or industries or manufacturing units with subsidies and support as in providing credit support or providing interest subvention to those industries which are specifically into the manufacturing of electrical vehicles. So these are the major objectives which this scheme tries to target. Now, why this scheme is in the news? Since it was launched in 2024, it was launched with an outlay of rupees 10,700 crores. Now, it has been found that more than 50% of funds are still lying idle in this fund. Now, in order to promote its use, the government has extended this scheme till 2027 and 28. And in order to promote the use of electrical vehicles, the government has also promoted the use of e-buses in 9 specific cities which have a population of more than 40 lakhs. 40 lakhs as in many metro cities, all the 4 metro cities of India, along with that Bangalore, Pune, Surat, all these cities which are having a population of more than 40 lakhs will be getting e-buses under this scheme to promote public transport, electric vehicles in public transport. These are the important points which you'll have to keep in your mind with respect to PM E-Drive. Okay, now let us go to the next topic. The next topic is related to your history, right? So recently the Prime Minister had celebrated 100 years, the 100th anniversary of Kakuri Conspiracy case. Now this case was of utmost importance to Indian history. Why? Because it was undertaken by a different stream of freedom fighters. And all those freedom fighters, they belong to this organization called as HRA, or Hindustan Republican Association, right? So who were the major fighters, freedom fighters in this HRA? Let us look into that. The first and the most important leader of this HRA was Chandrasekhar Azad. Chandrasekhar Azad, then Ashfaqullah Khan. Then comes Ashfaqullah Khan. Then comes Ram Prasad Bismil. Along with these three more popular people, there were other people like Manmat Nath Gupta, then also Roshan Singh and Rajendra Lahari. These people, what they actually did was, they did not believe in the Congress strategy of always putting forward petitions and begging the British for reforms. What instead of taking these steps, which were supported by the British, the government, the people belonging to HRA, what did they do? They believed in violent attacks to overthrow British government from India. Now, keeping this objective in their mind, they were looking to rob a train which was passing from Saharanpur to Lucknow. That train was actually carrying the treasury of British, right? They planned to rob this train in a station called as Kakuri in Uttar Pradesh, and they successfully executed this plan and robbed the British funds which were present in that train, and they used those funds to again implement their revolutionary activities, to execute their revolutionary activities. So this is with respect to the Kakuri train incident. Now let us look at the aftermath of this Kakuri train incident. The aftermath of this Kakuri incident is that all the freedom fighters who had undertaken this particular plan were caught. Ram Prasad Bismil, Chandrasekhar Azad, then Ashfaqullah Khan, all these people were caught, barring Chandrasekhar Azad. Chandrasekhar Azad fought till 1931, whereas Ashfaqullah Khan, Roshan Singh and Rajendra Lahari all were caught and they were publicly hanged. Now after this HRA slowly declined. Then again it rose to prominence when Bhagat Singh became a part of this HRA. And when Bhagat Singh became a part of this HRA, he changed its name to HRSA, which means Hindustan Republican Socialist Association. That you'll have to keep in your mind. Now, the inclusion of word socialist itself says that the ideas and influence of socialism was slowly infused into this organization. Again, people like Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Shiv Varma were some of the notable names who were a part of this HSRA, and they took the movement forward in order to implement their idea of launching a mass revolution to overthrow the British. This is with respect to HSRA and the Kakuri Conspiracy case, right? So recently the Prime Minister celebrated its 100th anniversary, right? This Kakuri Conspiracy case was launched on August 9th, 1925, and this year marks its 100th anniversary. I hope everything is clear regarding this issue, right? So this marks the end of my session. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. Thank you for joining Classic Education.